Deception, lies, and outrage. From boycotts to blocking pro players along with famous commentators and everything in between. Today's video will cover all the Tekken drama from start to finish. After months of outrage, it looks like the game is finally improving. The boycott list is still there, but has about half the players it used to. And players are slowly returning to the game as well, since the developers have slowly been introducing changes that players want. But make no mistake, this drama was crazy. In fact, this entire saga will be immortalized in the FGC, a permanent piece of fighting game history. Players are never gonna forget, so today I compiled all the main events into one convenient video. But if I missed anything, please let me know in the comments, and without any further ado, let's begin. I have never seen the Tekken community this angry before. Look at the review page on Steam. They are not playing around. People are posting uninstalled screens for clout. Once again, I have never seen it this bad. Several pro players are leaving the game until the update gets fixed, and many regular players are doing the same. I asked Mike Hollow, and he agrees it's never been this bad. I asked my buddy, who's a legit Tekken addict who plays the game any free chance he gets, and he also agrees the community is angrier than ever. Then you have some players who are just memeing at how broken the game is right now, but most people are genuinely mad. Okay, what exactly happened though? Why are Tekken players so upset right now? Let's talk about it in today's video, because as a fighting game lover myself, who's followed the FGC for decades, I've never seen anything like this, so it's gotta be covered. Even though I normally post Mortal Kombat videos on this channel, I've been playing Tekken my entire life since I was 5 years old, so that's like, what, 26 years by now? I've also got my Chipotle cards from Evo that you get for surviving pools, so trust me, I'm a big fan of Tekken. I just don't post too many videos on this channel. Please forgive my orange rank or lower in this video. Instead of playing ranked, I prefer to play with my tournament buddies. That's just how I roll. I'm not a fan of playing with random people online in ranked matches, which is why my rank is low. So please enjoy the background gameplay for what it's meant to be. Alright, why is the Tekken community so angry right now? What has the players so upset with this recent update? There's honestly a lot of reasons. It's a layered question. For starters, Tekken 8 is more aggressive than most fans enjoy, so that was already an issue, but in this recent update, things got even more aggressive. Tekken 8 is even more rushdown focused than it was before, and that's a problem because fans were very vocal and loud about this game being too aggressive already, and the developers promised that Season 2's update would focus more on defense and even lateral movement. In other words, sidestepping would become better, and the defense in general would get stronger in Tekken 8, which would have been a fantastic change because fans want Tekken to feel more defensive, more methodical, sidestepping, counterplay, all that awesome stuff. But instead of doing that, like the developers promised they would, Tekken 8 was made even more aggressive. That's right, if Tekken 8 was too aggressive before, now it's 200% more aggressive. In other words, developers took what fans already had an issue with and made it a bigger problem. But then on top of that, this update also removed many weaknesses that characters have had, including weaknesses that have been around for several games, which might sound like a good thing to many of you listening, but it's actually not, because Tekken characters are known for their weaknesses as well as their strengths, and that rewards players for learning the different matchups. In other words, let's say a new character shows up, and they're clearly strong in one area, but as a player you learn, oh, they're weak to sidesteps, and so you start doing that. The gameplay is actively rewarding you for paying attention, but this new update just removed that sidestep weakness, so now your knowledge is thrown out the window, which is why for any fighting game, it's good for a character to have weaknesses, but especially for 3D fighters like Tekken, they're supposed to hold on to their trademark weaknesses, unless it's a bug or a glitch. I think that goes without saying, but when the weaknesses are intentional, they should stick around because Tekken rewards players for having legacy knowledge like that. But after this new update, many characters feel very hard to evade now, even though there were buffs to movement. Ironically enough, this new update did actually improve the sidestepping a little bit, but those changes feel irrelevant when every character now has a homing move that tracks to one side or both sides, making them much harder to sidestep anyway. In case anyone watching only plays 2D fighters and not 3D fighters like Tekken, imagine if the characters had a terrible backdash, but the new update made their backdash better, only to make the forward dashes better as well, therefore negating the backwards movement entirely. That's kind of what happened to Tekken 8, and it's a big problem. If you go on social media, it seems like 90% of players players are angry about this patch. In fact, it might be closer to 99% of players. You're gonna have a very hard time finding any positive comments about this new update, because not only did it do the opposite of what was promised to the players, but some characters are just broken now. For example, one of Paul's new strings just can't be blocked. Yeah, some characters right now are actually bugged, which is why on Twitter some people are saying don't even play the game right now, just wait until this gets fixed because ranked is ridiculous and you're just gonna get mad since some characters are a guaranteed win, or at least it feels that way. For example, this attack from Jax is +8 on block and tracks to both sides, meaning you can't sidestep it, and if you try to attack, you'll get counter hit because he's at +8. Many characters in Tekken 8 are like this now. They get in your face with plus frames and just guarantee more pressure, which as mentioned earlier is not what 3D fighters are about. No matter how good a move is, there's always a way to counter it, or at least there's supposed to be. But this new update removed many of those weaknesses. An easy example is Reina, one of the new characters added to Tekken 8. She's got great pressure and mix-ups that she can force on hit, but her low attacks were garbage. So if you fought against her, you could block high for the most part, and if you did block her lows, you could punish her big time with your own combo and then force your pressure. You get what I'm saying. Reina was strong in her own way, but also had a trademark weakness. But not anymore, because this update fixed a lot of weaknesses, including Reina's low problem. So that's one fast example for why players are angry right now. However, with all that said, the developers have claimed the defense buffs are coming, but in a later update. Apparently, they ran out of time to add them in this new patch, which sounds very odd, because I'm wondering why not just delay the patch then? If the whole thing's not ready, then just release Anna and have players use her until the new update is ready. Don't just release one half now and then the second half of the update later, because when you do that, the offense feels way too busted. The players already told you they were angry about the offense and wanted more defense, yet you updated the offense first and didn't give them the defensive buffs to balance everything out. I really can't wrap my head around why the developers did that. Just wait until the update is finished and then release it. Why did you rush out just one half and now it's an incomplete mess? Well, at least the defense buffs are coming, which is good news, but that's not gonna save this game from the Steam reviews. My goodness, I have never seen a game review bombed like this before, or at least not with a fighting game. The Tekken community is really something, and really mad about this. In a way, it's kind of inspiring. Imagine if Mortal Kombat 1 players acted this way. We would have had a 1v1 mode by now. Just kidding, I'm not sure if this outrage is the right way to go about things, but I do understand where the rage is coming from. You have a game like Tekken, beloved for its defensive options, its 3D movement, the counterplay, the knowledge of the matchups, all that incredible stuff. Then this new update throws it all out the window. Many characters had their weaknesses removed, the aggression and offense is stronger than ever, and the movement feels like way too big of a risk in many situations to even be taken advantage of. That's right, the movement, sidestepping in a 3D fighting game feels like too risky of an option. To me, this whole situation almost sounds like one of the developers has hero syndrome. He walked into the office one day and said, I'm going to save Tekken and everyone is gonna love me for it, because I'm gonna buff all the characters, remove all their weaknesses, and go down in history as the greatest developer ever. That's how this patch honestly feels to me, like somebody high up did not understand characters are supposed to have weaknesses and that those weaknesses were intentional. I'm not joking, if you read the patch notes, it says stuff like, this character struggled in this area, so we buffed it, or this character had issues in this area, so we made that better. It really does read like the developers did not know these weaknesses were intentional and trademark parts of the character. Keep in mind, many of these characters have been around for like 5 or 6 games. Those weaknesses are an established part of their character. In other words, the characters are supposed to be that way, and yet these new developers, at least I hope they knew, are removing these weaknesses as if they're unintentional and not meant to be there. But alright everyone, now's the part of the video where I ask your opinion. How do you feel about this Tekken 8 situation? The new update that cranked offense up to 300% and barely buffed the movement, while also removing intended weaknesses for many characters, therefore making the characters busted and way too solid. And also the bugs and glitches there as well with certain characters like Paul. Yeah, it's a crap show, but let me know your thoughts in the comments down below because I love reading every comment, so grab that keyboard and make your voices heard. For me personally, I understand that Tekken 8 was trying something different and maybe the developers wanted more spectacle spectacle to the game. They wanted to attract outside viewers who prefer that fast-paced and high-octane gameplay, but in doing so, they've upset their core fan base, the veterans who have been with the game for years. Because Tekken is known for defense and movement, so when you limit those things, it's not what the players want. Even if it does make the game more fun to watch for the spectators, at the end of the day, the spectators are not always the people buying the game. So this new update does feel like a massive mistake, unless the defensive buffs coming are absurdly powerful as well to balance everything out. That's the only way this thing could be salvaged, otherwise they've got to roll back all the changes in this new update and do a whole different patch at some point in the future. In other words, revert Tekken 8 back to how it was before the Season 2 update, because many players online are claiming to boycott this game and never touch it again until that happens, so maybe for now that could be the correct move. But no matter what happens, I do hope the Tekken situation gets resolved, because I want this series to do well. I want Tekken 8 to become a beloved game, I really do. Even though I mostly post Mortal Kombat content on this channel, I'm an avid enjoyer of every fighting game. I want all of them to do great and be enjoyed by their communities as a whole. So even though this Tekken 8 debacle is entertaining, I hope it gets resolved soon, because I don't like that players are going through this. The Tekken 8 situation got even worse. Players have started a boycott petition, almost 6,000 so far. Large YouTubers are dropping the game, along with many regular players too. People are calling them Tekken refugees because they're moving to other fighting games right now. Even developers are blocking streamers on social media. As mentioned earlier, it got worse. I've got no clue how, but it did. My last video on this drama did much better than I expected, but can lightning strike twice? Let's give it a shot. Because this Tekken situation just keeps getting more interesting. In fact, this whole debacle might be history in the making. The fighting game community will look back on this drama years from now and think that was the wildest time to be a Tekken fan. Which is why I want to talk about it one last time. Leave a like down below to help save Tekken. Will the developers listen to the fans, or will they continue to double down? First up, I want to talk about the boycott because it's growing every day. When I wrote this script a couple days ago, it was sitting at 3,000 players, but now it's approaching 6,000 players, which is a bigger deal than you might think because this petition actually tracks the players. That's right, if they turn on Tekken 8, this petition knows and removes them from the list. Or in other words, every single person on this list has committed to not playing Tekken 8. It's more than just a regular petition. It's a legit boycott. If you scroll down to the bottom, it talks all about this, and if you click on the player's name, it tells you their stats. Because once again, this petition is linked into their actual Tekken 8 account, meaning it knows the last time they played, along with how often they played certain characters, all that incredible stuff. Just look at this guy, Wavuwank, a fellow Asuka main like myself. We gotta stick together. But look at the stats. This is super interesting. It's way more than a regular petition. It actually tracks game data and verifies if you played the game, which I find really interesting. Now with that said, some people were memeing and pretending to be pro players. In other words, they wanted it to seem like pro players were on this petition as well, which I'm sure some pro players are, but my point is some players were joking by pretending to be a pro player and then signing this petition, which proves there's always two types of people. People who take things seriously and people that want to watch the world burn and smile the whole time. I've never seen this happen for a fighting game, a boycott of this magnitude, but I think Aris himself said it best.
Let me guess, he was ranting for 25 minutes and then, okay, now let's log in and play ranked. Dude, this is like psychopath behavior. If you don't like something, you leave a bad review and you turn it off. That's it. I want to show the devs that this sucks, so you turn it off. Bad review, don't play it. That's it.
There you have it, straight from Hagrid himself, possibly the wisest gamer on the planet. If you want something fixed, then don't continue supporting the thing, which is why this boycott grows every day. Many casual and pro players alike are leaving Tekken 8. But speaking of pro players, they are the ones most affected by this new update. Many of them have outright said competitive Tekken 8 is done right now. That's how ridiculous the update is. It turns Tekken 8 into a casino game, right? Tons of guessing and you win the lottery. Way less skill involved and just way more forcing your gimmicks and just hoping for the best. Fingers crossed, baby. And that's because many characters in the game can now force you into a situation where you have to guess. There's not really any safe way out of that situation, which is not how Tekken is supposed to be. It's a 3D fighting game where you can sidestep, you can duck, you can armor through, all these different options to escape the opponent's offense, but after Season 2, you kinda just have to deal with the mix-ups, which led to the boycott and the Tekken refugees. Just check out this amazing clip from Brian F.
Oh, Oh shit, even main man SWEs being a Tekken refugee. Listen, brother, if the whole reason Tekken players are trying to jump ship is because they are tired of having forced mix-ups with 50-50s, you're gonna find no peace in these streets, my man. They just turned your game into Street Fighter 6. Here we go. Bonchan, show, please demonstrate. Please demonstrate what I mean. Please demonstrate exactly what I mean. Please, thank you. Case in point.
Honestly, the man brings up a good point. If you hate forced 50-50s, where can you really run to right now? Because Lord knows Mortal Kombat 1 has tons of 50-50s. Forward throw and back throw lead to full combos, overhead low mix-ups for days, all of them lead into full combos. Then you have Street Fighter 6 with the drive rush that guarantees pressure and forces a mix-up too. There's throw loops in the corner, all that incredible stuff. Where are these players supposed to run to? Guilty Gear Strive?
Let me sell Guilty Gear to Tekken players. Ready? I have the perfect sell. If you get hit, you could combo breaker them and send them full screen. That's not hype? There you go. You know what Tekken doesn't have? Burst. You can't burst Jack 8. I could burst Goldless one time. Not only that, but you won't die to Oki because you break the wall like Tekken and you go back to neutral. Street Fighter, you can't break the wall. That game's bullshit. In Street Fighter, they throw you and then they throw you again. But in Guilty Gear, they throw you, and they hit you, and then the wall's broken. You go back to neutral. Join us. Come. I'll welcome all of you.
Honestly, yeah, for anyone who hasn't given Guilty Gear Strive a chance, I recommend checking it out today, especially if you're a Tekken refugee. It's a pretty fun game. But next up, let's talk about developers blocking Tekken streamers on Twitter. That's right, as mentioned earlier, certain Tekken developers have started blocking large content creators for criticizing the game, which might have you wondering what crazy nonsense they must have said to get banned, right? But here's the twist. The comments have been completely fair and civil. That's right, nothing crazy was said at all, and yet they still got bonked with the ban hammer. In other words, particular Tekken devs are banning large creators for simply criticizing the new update and nothing more. One of the first examples of this going viral was Mrs. Play Stuff, a pretty popular Tekken 8 streamer with a great sense of humor who loves to meme. If anybody watching wants a good laugh, I recommend checking out her streams, even just the clips, because she's hilarious. Even on Twitter, she's hilarious with all these daily memes. But alright, the banning, check this out. Well, at least I know my opinions were seen. Also, people are allowed to block whomever they want, but it's still a pity for me. I thought I was able to express myself in a way that was criticizing the game and not a person on the team. And look at that, Michael Murray has blocked her on Twitter. And according to Moonsault Slayer on YouTube, the banning has not stopped. People are still getting blocked by Tekken developers. If you're a large content creator who's criticizing the game, you may have already been blocked. People on Reddit are covering this, people on Twitter are covering this. Thankfully, I haven't been blocked yet, but then again, I've only made one video. After this video, who knows what's gonna happen to me. For anyone wondering which tweet got Mrs. Play Stuff banned, here it is on screen. Please stop victimizing the game like it's a person with feelings. It's a product that's there for our enjoyment. We are customers who paid for a game that changed for the worse. If we don't like the direction, we are allowed to give negative reviews on it, just like you're also allowed to like it and give it a positive review. Reminder, this is not you going to the devs harassing them and saying kill yourself, etc. I'm not for that at all. But you are totally allowed to criticize their actions too, as well as you can praise them if you think they did a good job instead. I kinda thought this spoke for itself, but you know this is Twitter and a crazy battlefield. So essentially, she said the game is bad and we're allowed to criticize it. Tekken does not have feelings, we can be mean to it all we want. Don't go after developers or harass people, but we can criticize the game all we want. Because we paid for it, we're the customers, and if we don't like this product changing, we're allowed to make our voices heard. Which is honestly a fair take and a truth of reality too. If you paid for something and that product changes in a negative way, you're allowed to get mad about it. You're allowed to criticize the changes and make your voice heard. And like she also said, if people are harassing the developer directly, then yes, you have every right to block them. But she didn't do that, and yet she's blocked, along with more content creators every day apparently. So there you have it everyone, the Tekken 8 situation has gotten even worse. There's a boycott that grows larger every day and is actively tracking players in the game. Then you have large YouTubers and streamers dropping the game altogether, along with many casual players known as the Tekken refugees. And finally, some developers are actively blocking large creators that criticize the game. Once again, I've never seen anything like this in my 2+ decades of following the fighting game community. It's a wild time in history to be sure. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this entire Tekken 8 debacle. Grab that keyboard and make your voices heard, because in case you're new to this channel, I read each and every comment and I want to know your thoughts on this whole situation. Honestly, I'm still shook from Tekken developers deleting YouTube channels over Tekken 8 mods. That's right, certain modders for Tekken 8 had their entire YouTube channels taken down because they were using specific costumes with their mods that weren't available yet and would eventually be put in the Tekken store. But first off, the costumes weren't in the game yet, so the modders weren't trying to find a free way to wear these costumes without having to use the Tekken shop. They had no clue these costumes would be there to begin with. And yet, they still got their channels deleted for showing these costume mods, which is just crazy. Because why not just ban the mods? You do have the power to do that as a developer, or just suspend the player's account if you have to, but at least wait until the costumes are in the store. For the record, I don't think any of this is necessary because mods are never gonna make a big cut into your bottom line. They're just not. You're still gonna make tons of money off the Tekken store. But okay, I just wanted to mention that because it's been months and it's been bothering me this whole time, but I was busy covering content for other fighting games and forgot. I wanted to talk about it now. Tekken developers were caught lying again. That's 3 times for anyone keeping track. They lied about Heihachi being dead, they lied about Season 2 being defense focused, and now they lied about what fans want. There might be some baby lies in between, but those are the big ones. So today, let's discuss the Tekken 8 drama that never stops, along with some updates to the game that are kinda alright, you know, kinda good. The game's still in shambles though. God, look at that boycott list. Alright, let's begin with Harada, my hero, or at least he used to be. I still respect him a lot, and I've met him in person a couple of times, had some chats about Yoshimitsu, good times. So in my experience, he's a chill guy, but unfortunately, he's also very out of touch. Telling everybody that Heihachi was dead for sure, only to bring him back immediately, was a bad move, because it told every player that this man can't be trusted. It also told us that Tekken 7 doesn't matter. Like seriously, you can skip that game if you want to, because it was all about Heihachi's death, and now he's back. This game right here on screen is completely irrelevant now in terms of lore. And recently, Harada was caught lying again. When asked about why Tekken 8 has barely any offline content, he said, because the demand is low. Bro, I know he's not trying to gaslight all of us right now. Literally, what? Fans have been begging for Tekken Force and other co-op modes. Team Battle would go so hard in this game. It's not exclusively offline, but you get my point. It would be amazing, and so would survival mode and other basic modes like that have been around since Tekken 2. Which, by the way, is free on PS5 right now and very fun to play, not gonna lie. Harada, come on. You know that fans want Tekken Force. You even put it in story mode, a tiny bit of it, but still, you knew the demand was there, which is why you put it in story mode. So you can't stand here now and pretend like fans aren't asking for this. You know they are, which is why you put Tekken Force in the game. Are you mad that Tekken Bowling bombed? Because that's not our fault. You attached it to the season bundle. Some people don't want to buy the entire season pass, they just want certain characters. If you made Tekken Bowling free for everybody, I assure you people would be playing it to this day. And even if not, that doesn't prove that players don't want more offline content. I can assure you they do. You just keep messing up the execution. Say what you will about NetherRealm games, but they showed the world how amazing offline content can be. Honestly, I'd bet that offline content is in higher demand than ever now that fighting games are more mainstream. Tons of players don't want to grind ranked, they want to play fun offline modes. NetherRealm games have proven this, and so have the Smash Bros games. Casual content is in higher demand than ever before, and one of the reasons those games sell so well is because they offer a lot of offline content. Not always, I mean Mortal Kombat 1 definitely crapped the bed in that regard, which is why fans are angry. When you mess up the offline modes, trust me, people don't like it. But when you do it right, people love it. So yeah, Harada is capping hard here. Or maybe he's just out of touch. I hope that's the case because offline content will always be in high demand if done correctly. But okay, why is this comment such a big deal and why is everybody talking about it? Well, because it shows how out of touch the developers are. bizarre. First, they made Season 2 all about offense and did basically everything that fans told them not to do. That was strike number 1. It showed how the developers are literally not listening to their fans. They're just doing what they think is right. And with Harada's recent statement, we now have 2 examples of this, because once again, developers are not listening to the players. So put simply, it seems like Tekken developers are simply not paying attention, or they're completely clueless. Neither of which is a good thing. In fact, it's the worst case scenario. You have people designing a game for players, but then not doing anything the players want. Now, as mentioned earlier, I've met Harada in person a couple of times and even had some private conversations with him, so I don't think the man is purposely out of touch. I just think that's what happens sometimes when you're managing a big game and a big company. I think you just lose touch with the players. But even so, the responsibility is still gonna fall on you. Most people are still going to blame you because you're the face of Tekken. And make no mistake, I'm not giving Harada a pass because, like mentioned earlier, he straight up lied about Heihachi right to our faces multiple times, and maybe he thought that would make the reveal even more hype and that's why he was doing it. Maybe there was no malice there, but even so, that was a really bad look, and now I just can't trust this man. He could be lying for one reason or another, but even so, I know he's willing to lie to me, and that just sucks. So I suppose now's the time to bring up another incident with Harada, another controversial moment that got everybody talking on social media, and this part's not even in my script, it's just fresh in my mind. The main man himself, Harada, ended up blocking Arslan Ash, pretty much the Sonic Fox of Tekken, alright? This man is the face of competitive Tekken. He wins tournaments all the time. In other words, most people see him as the best player in the world, so like I said, he's the Sonic Fox of Tekken, which is why everyone got shocked when Harada blocked this man on Twitter. That's right, Harada on Twitter blocked the most famous pro player in the Tekken scene. It came out of nowhere and nobody was certain why this happened, but many assumed it's because Arslan Ash was outspoken about how bad Season 2 was for Tekken 8, but honestly, tons of pro players were, along with a bunch of commentators as well, and now Rip, possibly the most famous commentator in Tekken history for Tekken matches and tournaments, all that incredible stuff, he's apparently not allowed to commentate for the biggest Tekken 8 tournament coming up. And like with Arslan Ash, people wonder if that's because he was critical of the Season 2 update, which would be crazy if true because everybody was critical of the Season 2 update. Even casual players like myself were like, wow, this update was terrible. As of right now, we don't know the full details behind why Rip has not been hired to commentate this very big event for Tekken because he always has in the past. Why now is he not allowed to do it? Nobody knows for certain, but we're pretty sure why it's happening, and it's just crazy. We have Harada blocking a top pro player, and we have Rip not being hired to commentate the biggest Tekken tournament coming up. None of this looks good. It feels like the creators of Tekken are actively rebelling against the community if they're critical of the game, which is never a good look. However, with that all said, there was updates to the Harada incident. He claims it was an accident to block Arslan Ash on Twitter. A lot of people called cap and said you can't accidentally block somebody, it's done very intentionally. And myself personally, I thought it could have been a blockchain, like Harada blocked one person and then anybody following that person got blocked too, and one of those followers was Arslan Ash. Maybe that's how he got blocked by Harada. Now for the record, I don't defend blockchains. I think they're ridiculous. You should block everybody on an individual basis if they're really annoying. Nobody should be blocked because of who they follow, because people follow accounts for various reasons, sometimes just to troll or make fun of that person. But no matter the reason, I don't think anybody should end up blocked unless you personally chose to block them. I don't support blockchains. However, at the time, I assumed that's what happened with Harada. He did a blockchain, and that's how Arslan Ash got blocked. But then Harada went further on the record and said, no, it was just an accident. I was working, I was told to block certain people and do this with certain people, and I got it mixed up and accidentally blocked Ash. He said something along those lines. It was worded very professional, which means very vaguely worded. It was hard to tell what he meant, and also there's a language barrier because Harada still doesn't speak English super well. He understands it to an extent, but he's bad at explaining himself in English. So as a result, I'm still not exactly sure what happened. Maybe someone can explain in the comments down below, but the point is Harada claims it was all one big accident and he never meant to block Arslan Ash, which is good news if true. For me personally, I don't see why Harada would block a pro Tekken player. It just doesn't seem like something he would do, in my personal opinion, and I think most would agree. Harada's never done anything like this to my knowledge, so it could be a mistake, but honestly, I'm still not sure. So maybe we'll get more explanations about this matter in the future. Some people will claim it's not a big deal, and maybe it's not, but my point is this whole video is turning into one big battle of the Tekken developers versus the players, and that's never good. The one silver lining about about this entire situation is the developers are slowly rolling back the offense in Tekken 8. They're increasing defense and limiting the offensive pressure in the game, which is good. One example of this is the heat engager is now not as good on hit. It's now +9 instead of +14 or something like that, which means players can now sidestep certain attacks and don't have to deal with the while running attacks anymore. Before this nerf, you could land an attack that engaged heat and then guarantee a while running attack, which gave you even more plus frames. So in other words, the opponent was forced to block, and then block. Now that's been changed and they no longer have to block the while running attack, and way less attacks are guaranteed now after the heat engager, which is good. The aggressive nature of Tekken 8 is slowly being toned down. Another example of this is the armored heat engagers are almost completely gone. Every character in Tekken 8 has certain moves that when you land them engages heat, and some characters had armor attacks that did this, which was super powerful. Now that's been almost completely removed. I think some characters still have it, but for the most part, the armored heat engagers are completely gone, which I think was a good decision as well. And one more big change worth mentioning is the health increase. Every character in Tekken 8 now has more health, which hopefully means you no longer die in 2 mix-ups, which was the case before at high level play. The opponent would land a combo, then force a mix-up situation, and if that landed, you were just dead. That's how Tekken 8 was actually working. But now every character has more health, which is meant to give you a fighting chance. You no longer die for just guessing wrong twice, hopefully. Alright everyone, that's my update on the Tekken situation so far. This game just keeps having more drama. Before it was the update, but now it's the developers. And even though I'm a casual fan, I still enjoyed the series my entire life, so this whole situation is making me nervous because it feels like the developers versus the fans, and I don't like seeing that. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thanks for watching everyone, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please leave a like down below. It helps the channel out a ton. And then finish that combo by subscribing and ringing that bell so you never miss any future videos. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdog.